right, first read of the tentative budget.
So again, Scott will do a formal presentation to the board at the July meeting. We're also working on a spreadsheet that will provide new board members with some historical. We went through this with the advisory council. Preliminary projections, now we still have to wait for the month of June 30th to come in. But preliminary projections for the FY2018 budget will be the first budget in the last, I believe, 4 years that will have a deficit. We're projecting close to a $600,000 deficit. So take the month of June and before the July board meeting to review the budget and ask any questions that you may come up with. The key page, that the first few pages of the budget from 155, 156, 157, 158, and 159 of board book kind of breaks down like everything from our general assumptions, so these are big things and what the changes or impact are to the current budget. That's the assumptions. So that's a good page for you to make sure you check out and ask any questions on. And Scott will present through these at the July meeting. The big picture on 156 just gives you an idea of expense versus revenue and what our fund balance will be at the end of that fiscal year. The next one is just a breakdown of how real estate tax are calculated. 158 is an important one. You'll see that we are roughly budgeting about 98.5 tax collection rate. And so this gives you a 7-year average, 6-year average, 5-year average, 3-year average. So we use a 3-year average when predicting our finances, which is why we're at about 98.5%. Anywhere between 3 and 5 years, we're between 98 and 98, almost 99. So that's why we choose the 98.5. And then on 159, the pending property tax appeals. So this may be one area that we can trim slightly. We've already paid out about $170,000. We still owe roughly $170,000 that we know of that are under appeals. And so we currently budget $424, but if we've already paid out 170 of that, we may be able to shave roughly $75,000 or so off of that. That would bring our deficit closer to about $500,000. And then, go ahead.
This was a good chart to add. We should rely on that to make it. But is the Riverside Golf Club just every year now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Even
And same with
Yeah, maybe you
CVS.
should go and propose to buy it from them for that price.
Yeah, really.
$225.
$225.
Yeah.
And so, and then CVS seems to do the same thing. Now, they didn't seem to have anything specifically in the mall at this point in time. So we think we're okay right now. But again, this is what they know of, so someone can always file.
Sure.
So that's why I don't want to take it down to the exposure we know out there. I would say
Sure.
if we at least leave double our exposure, that should be somewhere around 340, 350. Correct, Scott?
Yes.
And right now we're at 424, so we could.
Bring it down a little bit.
Correct.
So,
But we also identified 2 areas today in our finance meeting that Scott and I have every Tuesday that need to be added to the current budget.
we have the First Avenue bike path.
Right, we had previously budgeted $30,000 to pay North Riverside last year to finish. Us, Riverside, and the county were contributing portions. I'll be getting an invoice, but it's only $10,000. But we need to make sure that's in the FY2018 budget because we didn't pay that yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that was coming out of capital.
Yes.
And then we need to roughly start budgeting for
Traffic control per the settlement agreement.
So the settlement agreement requires that we have someone directing traffic before school, after school, and at key events. Big events, we usually have police coverage already, but the hour, half hour before school, half hour after school is going to either be an increase by hiring additional security and then having them trained by the police departments. And I'm currently working with the Village of Brookfield on seeing if there's a way where we can pay for an hour of officer's time or 2 hours of
That's something
officer's
else
time.
to do. It's safety. I mean, they caused a kid to get hit by this year. Why doesn't Brookfield just provide an officer?
It's part of our settlement agreement.
not paying for it. It's having somebody direct it, right?
I believe we're responsible to pay for it.
Is Riverside just providing their officer there free of charge? 'Cause-
So right now, here's the deal. Under the settlement agreement,
yeah, I know settlement, but I see Riverside always has a cop.
they always both have it. Usually both have a car there.
Yeah.
The
Now
issue
they
is
just have
that
a direct for traffic.
Correct.
Instead of sitting in the car doing nothing, we have to pay for it.
well, the issue is also if there's a call or something else going on, they can't guarantee that they're going to have coverage there. And based on the terms of the settlement agreement, we were going to have it before school and after school is what we agreed to. And so it basically means we need to supply it or pay for the services. So obviously the first thing I asked for is if they could, in both departments, I have a good relationship with both departments. So they said, if we have nothing going on, we can provide, but we can't guarantee it. And so I'm working on a couple of things, but we need to budget that. Now, we used to have to pay money for, so this is still somewhat cost neutral because the money we were paying to the village to lease Rockefeller is now down to $1. So that money will be used roughly for traffic control. And we still charge students for parking on Rockefeller and in our new lot. So we're generating some revenue to offset this. So it's not like it's an additional expense. I mean, we should have the
It is
increase
an
in revenue
additional
of parking.
Parking.
But it's
We could use the money for the parking for something else if we didn't have to pay for it. It is an additional expense.
but it was part of the settlement.
Not paying for it. Having somebody there was part of the settlement.
Well, how would we have somebody? I mean, I don't want to go tomato, but how would we have somebody there? I mean,
Say, hey, who's in charge of safety? 2 police departments, take turns. One day have one have 2 both days, and if somebody has to leave, we still have 1.
Could we get like some kind of go to reserve class and learn how to direct traffic?
I'm sure.
so
you
I
can.
have a couple of things going on. I have the possibility of we could use some additional security coverage. Do we hire an additional security person and then just have Brookfield has volunteered to train if we wanted to train our security staff. The cost of hiring a security person and instead of maybe having a police person do it that's already trained in it, take some of the liability off us. So I'm exploring those issues, but I need to have that in the budget. That's the main purpose. I haven't finalized that with the safety committee that we have together with Brookfield, Riverside, and us. But some of the striping's already been done. We're doing cost sharing on striping and paying for crosswalks, and so there's some things that are being done. And the way the agreement reads is that that is our responsibility for those items. So
Yeah, today there was a turn-only lane made.
that's been installed, yes. So there's a left turn lane off of Washington, which was some of the restriping that was talked about at the intersection of Gulf and Washington. And Ed Petrick, the deputy chief, has been great with trying to help us with the public works and getting that stuff done. Some of the crosswalks are between Riverside and Brookfield. So they're like, Riverside was covering their portion because they have a school, they have an initiative going on right now to redo the crosswalks by schools, but when it crosses the other half of the street, they want someone to pay for that half. Based on the settlement, it's not worth a few $100s, so we're covering that as part of our safety plan to put all this in and just get the agreement implemented. Scott, did I miss anything with the budget? I just wanted to introduce it because we want to get moving for time's
No,
sake.
just like you said, please look at the assumptions, just the key ones out there. Obviously, salary and benefits is a big one that we have, and then adding some FTE, you'll see that in there. Medical costs are going up, and obviously you can look at our expenses are going up higher than what our revenue that we're taking in each year. So just look at those assumptions. If you have any questions, please submit them, and we'll get back to you.
All right.